Good evening, and good morning, wherever you are in our beautiful and amazing world. Welcome to today's Inspire, Innovate, Ignite Conversations That Count panel discussions. I've got some beautiful guests with me today to talk about something that is really, really dear to my heart, and that is self-esteem and me. For me, self-esteem is the foundation of my life. When I was growing up, I had no self-worth, no self-esteem, so much so I didn't even think I was worthy enough to speak. I had a very bad stutter, and also tried to do a few things about not being in this world because I didn't think I was worthy enough to belong here. But learning about self-esteem and studying it, learning it, facilitating it, sharing it with others has totally changed my life. So tonight we have a couple of beautiful women, amazing women, who are going to be joining us to share their passion, their stories, their secrets, and their passion, their tips and techniques on how we can really connect with our self-esteem, improve our self-esteem. So let me introduce our panelists tonight, and before we get really going into our panels, and with us is our beautiful Bex, and Bex has joined us before, so welcome back, Bex. Thank you for rejoining us, coming back again and sharing your passion. And Bex, you're known as a cheerleader for change. You're a speaker, a trainer, a body psychotherapist, a counselor, a well-being mentor, a corporate facilitator, and people and change consultant. Bex is on a mission to help you feel successful by making life more purposeful, inspired by nature, and her groundbreaking new model, The Art of Yin, which we also want to talk about afterwards. You combine change intelligence with emotional intelligence to help people concentrate on feeling successful when the measure for success is constantly changing. So, Bex, like I said, welcome back. You are such a valued member of the community, and I love it when you come to join our panel discussions because you just light everything up. So thank you. And then also joining us is the beautiful Katerina. And Katerina is a wonderful tribe member and is an evolutionary life coach, mentor, quantum light master, and activator, who is working with universal life energy to raise the frequency for humanity and planet Earth, something that is so needed. Katerina is the owner and creator of Be Your True Self, a safe place where you can explore your inner world without fear or judgment, where you will discover the grandest light of who you are. I love that. Goes right into my heart. Katerina is also the co-author of 2 books now, and congratulations, Katerina, on your second one that's just recently come out. So 2 books with the Hill House Publishing, Intuitive Living and Collaboration, where you share your journey of being your higher self. So again, thank you, Katerina, for joining us. And with us tonight is our beautiful Angel, who is an angel. Who without Angel, we would not be here, and Angel is here to help me with all your questions. So for everyone who is listening live tonight, do pop any comments, any questions in the comments, and Angel will help, will relay them to us. And of course, Angel will be putting the links for both Bex and Katerina in the comments very, very soon. So let's start off. Can we start first of all, while I just get a drink, and I'd like to ask you beautiful women, first of all, what is self-esteem? Let's just lay the foundation to what really is self-esteem. And why don't we start with you, Bex? For you, tell us what self-esteem is.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. Great question, obviously, to start with, because I think defining the foundation of what we're talking about tonight is a very important thing. And for me, self-esteem is really about, it encompasses a few things. It's really about courage to be yourself, really finding your strengths and leaning into them and using them to benefit yourself and others as well, because it's not just about you, it's others. Having healthy self-esteem is about stepping in and being confident to share yourself with the world, and that may be your gifts, it may be your thoughts, it may be your body, your full self. So for me, it's really about having the courage and having the knowledge to be able to step in and really use your strengths and bring your full self to live your best life.
Thank you. And I totally agree with you. You know, getting the knowledge and using our strengths and everything else to make our life, even to empower our life. So thank you for sharing that. And what about you, Katerina? What for you does self-esteem mean?
Well, self-esteem. It's a really, once again, good question, isn't it? I mean, we all want to know what self-esteem is. For me, it's about me being able to speak my truth without feeling fearful about doing it, about showing the world who I am without feeling that I'm being judged. So my self-esteem, I'm always working on my self-esteem. So, because we're all human, right? So sometimes we don't feel like we have, it's not 100% or anything. So just similar to you, Sophia, I've come from a background where I didn't have any self-esteem. It was torn away from me from an early age. So I had to learn to develop this backbone of understanding that my self-esteem is okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay. Took me, gosh, many years. So self-esteem for me is being able to be here with you lovely ladies and be able to share my wisdom and knowledge. You know, self takes confidence, right? It takes confidence, it takes courage and strength as well, because it's such a multi-layered thing, self-esteem, but basically it's about having the confidence to be you in a world that's very chaotic right now. That's what I think.
Thank you. Yeah, having the confidence to be who we are. You know, so thank you for that. And I want to continue with that. And Katerina, if I can ask you and Bex too also afterwards, but without getting into anything personal, real personal, would you like to just share your journey? And is there anything that you would like to share that has happened to you in your past, like not the actual situation, but any event that that affected your self-esteem, that really made a big impact on you?
Okay. Well, it's started in the family environment, and I was always told that I was never good enough for something, or not. You're not going to achieve anything because you're not wearing this thing, or you're not doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind sharing. So by the age of 16, I had no self-esteem. Didn't feel like I belonged anywhere because of that. So that affected my journey up till I was about 29, when Spirit came and said, okay, we're going to help you find your self-esteem. So it affected my whole life, and I've spent the rest of my life up to now developing it, feeling good about it, and it's unraveling every day. You know, the process goes on, it doesn't stop. But I've become a lot more at peace with myself, knowing that my self-esteem has, the tools that I use throughout my life has helped me to be able to speak my truth like I am today, and not feel guilty or ashamed about my history.
Mhm. Mm.
And
That's good.
I'd like to think that I would be, you know, inspiration for somebody who needs to know that their story is as important as the next person.
Thank you. And you are an inspiration. And
Thanks.
before we finish, I'd love you to share about your books too,
Sure.
and things like that. But I love what you're saying because, you know, it's so important, and I'm sure it happens to just about everyone. When we're growing up in today's world, it's a challenging world to grow up, and, you know, listening to family, you know, those that are there to love you and support you and encourage you and empower you. But yet when you've got people who are saying that you're not good enough, you can't do this, you'll never succeed, all this type of stuff has a huge impact on you as a child. I'm sure it did. And then, as you were saying, you know, growing up, on our self-esteem. And I just want to honor you for sharing that, because I know it happens to so many people. And
can I just add, then it spills into the workplace, and
yes,
then you get the reflection of that in the workplace, and then you have to, you know, you have to continue the process of loving yourself even more in the workplace. And you know, it's just not family, you know, it can be, gosh, there are coaches that say things like this, but
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you. And I'd like to go into that more too. But first, let's ask Bex. Bex, is there anything that you would like to share about your journey through life, that what has happened to you that really impacted your level of self-esteem, to start with?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine was actually in the school ground. So my home life was very well supported, and, you know, very, you can do anything, and, you know, really empowering. However, once I stepped out of home, it was the outside world and then the container of school, which then actually scarred my self-esteem. So things like being, you know, ridiculed maybe for looking different, being different, thinking differently, those types of things took their toll on myself. And also, you know, out in the school grounds, not only just in how I thought about things in a classroom environment, but also, you know, what I like to do for sport or different things like that. So, you know, it can also be the external world that actually puts the pressure on you as a young child. And, you know, those are our formative years. So those are where we are all finding ourselves through our external influences, whether that be home or any other environmental piece. And so for me, that was a really interesting duality, because, you know, how can I be at home and then say that I'm good enough in something, but then be ridiculed for it in some other place where I'm supposed to be succeeding because I am good at it. So the thing that helped me, and I'm going to get probably into something you can ask later with what helped you, but the biggest thing that could have helped me was that I actually got a book. My dad gave me a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, as some of you may know. And I actually did a presentation to my class about that. We had to read a book, and I actually gave a presentation. And that for me was the turning point of my self-esteem, because it was like I was explaining to them what I was actually doing and why I was doing it at the time of giving my presentation. So it was, I think it was a catalyst for me, and which I hope and think that it was a learning moment for everybody else as well. So yeah, I think it's really important to just understand that it's not just about those that you love, but also those that in any part of your world can actually impact your self-esteem.
Yeah.
And something I didn't mention before, but I like to think about the words and the energy of the words. And for me, self-esteem is about what gives you steam, what keeps you going, what actually gives you that energy and that motion, which is the emotion of water and the energy of fire, what actually creates that steam. So it's self-esteem is the emotion plus the fire and the passion, which creates steam.
I love it. I love that. We're going to have to, I'm going to rewatch the recording and write that down. I love that. So thank you very much. And for everyone out there who is watching, again, do put some comments in the comments, any questions. And, and I definitely encourage you to write that down. Love it. Self-esteem is steam. The energy of water and fire gives you that emotion. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I also want to just again honor you and thank you for sharing the thing about being, how you were affected in school and it happens to just about everyone. In today's world where we're reasonably aware, and we hear so much about the fight or the war, whatever you want to call it, whatever they say, against bullying. But there's so much bullying that happens. And I hear, what you said, Bex, touches my heart, because that's to me exactly what I experienced too when I went to school, especially high school, when it's a whole different world. And and if you look differently, if you think differently, like I said, you're treated extremely differently and you're picked on. Which definitely affects your self-esteem. So thank you for doing that. And Bex, if we can continue with you. So what have you done? What are the steps that you've taken to overcome the effects of what happened in the schoolyard to get to where you are now?
Well, I think as Katerina said, it's an ever, I don't know the exact words, but it's like you're always doing it. You're always learning and growing, because there's different things that you may have thought that you've healed or that you've actually gotten over as such, that may be reflected back from somebody else that brings it to a different perspective. So I'm not going to say that I have cured myself from that, any of that self-worth, self-doubt still. But what I do to really help myself is just come back to those that do care for me, that I know that are my core group, that I may need to test some things if I'm going out on a limb or going to present to some different people. I might test it with a group of friendlies, I call it, first, to just really get my confidence with myself, with my messaging, with the things that I'm going to share. So that's something that I've done, and I have done that throughout my my corporate days, and also in share circles and things like that. Really found that core group of people that I can bounce my ideas first, so I feel safe, and then to share them with a wider audience. The other thing is really just have some self practice, so some self rituals. And some of those things are in the way that I do some breathing, perhaps, before I come into a situation. Or if I don't know I'm going into a situation, then I also have the breathing techniques when I'm in a situation and I find myself feeling self-conscious or having, something that's maybe felt that someone's judging me or rejected me. I have some different tools that I can use to actually then help myself in the moment if I haven't already prepared for something.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it certainly does, help us, and to help, to improve our self-confidence, and to the breathing. I love your idea about breathing. It helps. It helps for me. It helps to ground myself. It helps to center. Especially if you're not totally confident in what's coming next. Is just taking some moment to have some to do some breath work and to center. So thank you for sharing that.
Can I add another elemental analogy?
Yes,
sorry, I work with the
absolutely.
elements, so
I love it.
I was feeling very drawn to do that. So an example of that, because people are probably saying, how do you do that in the moment? Yes. So what I feel like is the energy is boiling. So you'll feel like that energy boiling up inside of you. And so the breath will take time and give you space. And that's what we need when we've got fire around you. You take a step back, don't you? Yes. So you can energetically take a step back from the situation and from the emotion that's rising, the boiling point that's happening. And then you can actually, the breath brings the air in, and it doesn't flame the fire, it actually creates space. So the breath creates the space with the air element rather than fanning it. So think of not fanning it by going, because if we know that there's a panicked breath, that's flaming the fire.
Yes, yes.
Whereas if we take space breaths and think of creating space in our body and space in our breath, then that actually gives us some space between the fire and the boiling point within us.
Mm.
So that's an example. Thanks, Sophia.
Thank you. Love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And Katerina, what about you? What are the steps that you've taken on your journey to get from being, told that you're not good enough by your family to where you are now?
Wow. Well, it's been a long journey. But like Bex and yourself, I mean, I was bullied at school too, like it all kind of just wasn't just family, it all went in there as well. So what did I do? I just had this inner drive, this inner knowing within myself that I was bigger than what I was at that moment. I always had it from the age of 14. So I just moved through my life experiencing these things and going through the ugliness. But then there was one day where at 29 years old, when I had spiritual guidance who came to me and said, we believe in you and we know you are worthy of just who you are, and we're going to help you, because humans didn't help me. Spirit helped me to understand. They helped me to understand that I am worthy of Katerina. I am worthy of being in this place right now. And what did I do? They gave me meditations, quiet time, I call it. I would sit quietly, and I was taught how to move the chatter away from my mind, because we have to balance that emotional and mental state, right? And they just simply taught me how to sit quietly for 30 minutes, which became an hour, through the process, feeling into what I was feeling at the time, and knowing that it was okay to be angry, that it's okay to cry, because what I was literally doing was alchemizing the energy into more of feeling confident about what I was feeling at the time. Do you know what I mean? Because some of our external things, say you're not allowed to feel that way, or you're not allowed to be that way, even now. So I was taught how to be okay with feeling how I was at that moment. So meditation, quiet time, journaling, that was my thing. Learning about my own energy versus the external energy. And even in the workplace, there was lots of bullying happening, in my workplace as well. And it just happened to be that Spirit used that as a classroom for me to learn to be able to look at the person and put a smile on my face, knowing that it wasn't me, even though I was dying in the inside, going, oh my God, this is exhausting. But I had to learn to stand up straight with my head up, knowing that I am worthy of being there as well. Just, how you hold yourself, how you look at other people. I mean, in the family situation, I had to learn to look at my stepdaughter and smile while she didn't like me much in the early days, like things like that. So I was taught how to put my hand inside myself and just grab my courage, right? Courage of knowing that not everything is my fault. Not everything, I'm not responsible for everything that somebody's doing. So that's what Spirit taught me. So I sit quietly. I have my own tools right now. Basically, I just sit quietly and allow my emotions to move through my physical self and acknowledge it, and then say, it's going to be okay. Right?
Sure.
To give you like you know, number one, you do this, number two, do this. Sometimes it's just purely, they taught me how to trust my instincts. So if I was feeling bad, so if I feel bad, I acknowledge it, and then I look at why I'm feeling bad, and then I just sit quietly and just let myself know that I am worthy enough to find out how to find the solution, right? How to find the people to help me, how to reach out and receive help, because when we're bullied a lot and when we're told that we're not good enough, we go to a space where we're afraid to ask for help. Right. So I had to learn to, you know, as Bex say, take a breath, step back a little bit and say, okay, I need help now, please help me. And be okay with, you know, bawling your eyes out at that moment and saying, I don't know what to do. You know, I only did that yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So self-esteem, you know, in the textbook, it's about confidence and how we show ourselves in the world. But if you're not working in the inside, the outside will eventually break down, right?
So it's all about working on the inside and gaining that self-esteem, that self-love from the inside.
Yeah, and it can take, and it's layers. We're like onions. We take one layer off, and then, you know, we create a solution or clarity about it, and then we have a bit of a rest, and then, you know, your higher self says, okay, what about this one now? Let's look at this. But remember, you brought your tools over from the previous one. Let's see if that works, and let's look at what we can do
that as well,
to add on that, right? And I found that by doing that, I have people around me now who want to help me, who want to see me uplift myself, and who want me to be successful. Big change from, you know, from where I came from. But you know, don't be too hard on yourself. That's the other thing I was taught. Don't be too hard on yourself, darling. You're multi-layered. You know, you're not going to be, your confidence builds as you build yourself up in every day, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, and I totally agree with you, you know, especially about not being too hard on ourselves, because a lot of our self-worth or lack of our self-worth, we keep putting ourselves down.
Yeah, the self-talk is really important.
Self-talk.
Sophia.
Yeah, totally.
And can I just add, please?
Yes.
My shadow work, the work that I do with my shadow, has taught me how to retrieve my self-worth and my self-esteem by showing me something that I don't like. And it's like, what are you going to do about it? Let's change it. You know, this is how I talk. So my shadow showed me all the little treasures of my self-esteem. So I'm not afraid to go into the shadows now and go, oh, look at that shiny little gem down there. What's that all about? Let's go and find that, right?
So that's good. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd love to go into that more, you know, like, because we're sitting here and talking all about, you know, self-esteem and self-worth and everything else. But for me, allowing ourself to shine through, as you were saying, Katerina, so we've got to remove the layers of the onions. We've got to do the shadow work. So can you go into more about, you know, what is shadow work, and how can that help us improve our self-esteem?
Well, shadow work is just shadow work is dealing with our toxic ego, because we have to learn to love our ego, because that, you know, our ego is what keeps us on this planet. So the shadow is the part of us that we don't like, that we don't want to see, that we don't want to confront. So I was taught how not to brush it under the carpet and say, okay, I'm going to deal with this tomorrow. And my spirit guides would go, no, we're going to do it now. So the agreement was, it felt like I was pulling myself by the hair and having horrible times. But that was me kicking and, you know, chucking a little tanty, because I didn't want to commit to the shadow self, but now I love my shadow because it shows me what I don't like, and it gives me the strength to find what I do like. Because in the darkness of things is where your gem or the spark of light that will bring the clarity. So we have to venture into that shadow, because what I was taught to do was, when you unravel and remove the toxicity of the ego, you're going to find out that the ego is actually helping you find your self-esteem, so you can be the strong, heartful career person, or the counselor that can help somebody else, because what you're doing is you're alchemizing the energy into something that's feeling lighter and brighter, right? So the shadow work is really important. So one thing that helped me with my self-esteem was to know that it was okay to be angry. It was okay to yell at the universe. It's okay to tell God off when I was feeling upset, that because I was being authentic, right? Dealing with your shadow, you have to be really authentic about what you're doing and how you're facing yourself. And then the next thing you know, you're full of light and full of clarity and understanding. And next thing you have your aha moment and something beautiful was created, right? So shadow, so I'm here to encourage people not to be afraid of their shadow, because it's just that part of you that got neglected or left behind, put under the carpet because it was too hard. Because let me tell you, anything that's too hard and you're not dealing with is going to become your past life in your future life, right? That you'll have to deal with. And I have this sarcasm about it, because I just laugh, because it's just so true, right? Because we talk about dealing with past lives, right? We got to get rid of this issue and all this type of stuff. Be careful we don't take issues that we're not dealing with right now, or the shadow part of us, into our future. And then we have to keep having more therapy. And who wants more therapy? Like, I don't. you know
wonder what
I mean,
it is,
right?
So thank you for sharing that. And it's really, it just makes so more sense, and I totally agree with you, that it's actually a good thing to deal with all our shadow, the shadow side of us and stuff like that. So thank you. So Bex, can I ask you, and if you'd like to bring in the shadow about this too, you're more than welcome to. But, we talk to a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, and we're talking tonight about self-esteem and me. And this might be going back a little bit to the beginning too, that, I hear a lot of people every now and then saying, well, this is all nice and great, but I don't even know who me is.
Yeah. And great segue for me, because I was just going to mention that I have a program called Finding You.
Yes.
Which is about helping people find more of themselves.
Yes.
And one of the practical tools that I use, which is not as deep as the shadow work, which I do with one-on-one, but in this group Finding You program, we look at the blind self, and that brings in the Johari window template, if you like to call it. And really the Johari window is where it helps individuals visualize the difference between how they see themselves and then how others see them. So it really is about getting your own feedback and then testing that with others that are external to yourself. So that's why I talk also about that group of friendlies, because this is a great opportunity to do this exercise with them. And then as you feel more confident and comfortable, you can actually use that with other people in your life as well. So what it does is it gives you an opportunity to have a look at 4 aspects of yourself, which is the open side of the window, which is things that are known by yourself and others. The blind aspect, which are things known by others, but not you. And that's a really good one to hear about some of your strengths that you might not see, some of the things that you're really good at that others see that you actually are not seeing and valuing for yourself. So that's a really good one to look at. Then there's the hidden or the facade, and which is the things that are known by you, but you're not willing and ready yet to let others in to know about it. And then there's the unknown, which is really about growing that window into that unknown section so that you can actually find out more about yourself and others can find out with you that other aspect of yourself, which is about that confidence piece. I think is that growing into yourself is actually opening that Johari window by giving a little bit more to people, letting a little bit more in, and then actually getting to know yourself with others at the same time and being excited by that aspect.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'd love to know more about that at the end. We will be putting all your links in the comments for that because it sounds like a very, very interesting program. So thank you for sharing that. Can we go more into things like, like I get a lot of people, I hear a lot of people, and this is myself included, that when you were growing up, we're always seeking on the outside. You might be seeking approval, or you might be seeking appreciation, or, like I call it today the relationship supermarket. You start a new relationship and you feel, oh, I'm so in love and this person loves me and I'm so happy and everything else. But then something happens, whatever happens, and it's like, oh, they don't love me anymore. So you let go of that one and get someone else, and you get someone else, and you get someone else. And you can continue on this pattern, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in jobs or possessions. I knew someone who found so much happiness in guitars, literally. They bought guitars every week, would play them at the guitar store. Oh, I feel so happy. And then take it home and go, yeah, I don't feel happy anymore. I'll go and get a new one. Where does that come from? Where does seeking happiness or love or appreciation or approval in outside circumstances come from? And how can we overcome that?
Is that a question for me or Katerina?
Why not? Well, let's start with you and then we'll go to Katerina.
Cool. And I'm just going to take a little moment and breath to think about that. Because I think that that's really interesting and important to define what fills you up and what gives you confidence to be more external. So I'm going to think about it two different ways. The first way is where I talk about maintenance and sustenance in regards to energy. So things and understanding the difference. So maintaining your energy or your self-esteem isn't like maintaining a car. You can't just service it every now and again and buy a new thing for it and then, just do things when you need to do them. It's about sustaining yourself. So sustaining your energy in the relationship with yourself. So an example of that is when I talked about rituals. So knowing what to do for yourself when you get into situations where you're uncomfortable or where you may need to step into an uncomfortable place. So having some techniques to be able to help you do that. The other thing is daily rituals. So, finding something that does sustain you, not just gives you a quick hit, a quick endorphin hit of I feel valued or respected, or I feel like I've got something new and shiny. So that's going to take my attention away from how I really feel about myself. And something as simple as that could be, I've got a card deck and it's a you got this card deck, and I shuffle the cards every morning, and it's a motivation piece, and it gives me a little bit of an oomph that is something that's free other than the card deck, but it gives me a perspective of like, okay, I'm going to have this on my desk for the rest of the day to remind myself when I may be feeling not confident, or someone may say something that triggers me into an old pattern or an old wound. So and this is a really good one I actually picked before this one which I'll share with you, and it says that failure is is the condiment that gives success its flavor. And I really like that one. And they give me a giggle as much as they give me that little oomph. So for me, it's about valuing myself enough to sustain the relationship with myself and give myself time and space to have the tools that I need to sustain the energy that I want to feel, that keeps my confidence up, that keeps my self-esteem up, that actually helps me keep myself engaged with what I want to do.
Mm.
The other aspect is purposefulness, which I talk about with helping people make their life purposeful. I think if you're engaged in something that you're excited about and you feel gives you purpose in the world and others, that will keep you on track with self-esteem, because you will automatically feel like you're adding value. You're adding value to yourself. You're adding value to others. If you're on purpose or feeling purposeful, then that's a really good way to actually feel successful, to feel like you've got some self-esteem and really got a goal.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's been wonderful. Lots of tips in there. So thank you for sharing that. And what about you, Katerina? What about yourself? What do you say will help with other people, or even with yourself previously? When we rely on external situations or possessions or people to make us feel happy and loved, and then end up in sorrow. What's that all about, and how can we overcome that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love those cards you shared. They were really nice. And that card was perfect for me too, by the way. Wow, the journey takes you through so many layers, doesn't it? Like, I think the best thing to do is, what do? I was taught how to look at myself in the mirror, because when you look in the mirror, you see yourself, right? And I was taught how to take the mask away, how to take the I'm feeling great, but I'm not feeling great type of thing, right? The validation, because I wasn't being validated by my father, for example, or by the people that I thought loved me, I was always seeking it out externally, and it got me into more trouble than good, right? Because at the end of the day, it made me feel totally crap. Can I say that word? Because I was reaching out externally to make me feel good about something. So that would be, go spend money on shopping and come home and thought, oh God, did I really need that, right? So I get my husband to say to me, do you need that, love? Do you need that right now? And I go, no, I don't need it. So I don't buy it, right? So that could be one way of doing it, asking somebody that you trust why you're going shopping, right? So everyday thing, and they say to you, do you need that dress? Do you need it? Do you really need that today? And really make you think about it, right? The validate took me a very long time to understand that I didn't need validation externally. What I was searching was the validation from me, Katerina.
Yes.
I was searching myself to look in the mirror and say, you've got this, girl. It's okay. Like, to feel that I am validated instead of going externally, because for me, it was always ending up being disappointing. And it made me feel like a failure. It made me feel like, I'll just close the door now and not let anybody see me, right? So my tools is spirit, right? So they came to me and they said, okay, we're going to show you that the person that needs to validate you is you. Me, Katerina, needs to validate me. So I learned to accept that if something didn't work, it didn't work. So I would move on and find something that did work. So that was my validation, right? The other thing I was talking about, shadow work before, the shadow actually showed me how I didn't need other people's validation, because it was making me feel awful. So that was me saying, okay, Are you going to keep doing this, or are you going to change it? What are you going to do? You know, the validation has to come from you, because otherwise you're going to spend the rest of your life seeking out validation from other people. And the validation that you do get from other people is a projection of their own lack of validation, right? It's just an endless circle of things. So I am, you know, I'm proud to say that seeking the validation is, you know, 90% cured, because I learned to love me. I learned to love Katerina in this world, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's learning to love yourself and knowing that whatever you have in your life is valued because you love it, because you enjoy it, because you need it, not because somebody else, right? But unfortunately, you know, we all go through the process of that validation. Like I said, it can be just simply going shopping and needing to buy something all the time because that will make you feel happy, right? That's what you said before, Sophia. It's really endless. What I suggest is that you learn to change the mindset and the shift of your emotional state of how you speak to yourself. You know, if you suddenly find yourself getting really angry about something, sure, you can continue with it, but then take that breath and step back and say, well, why are you so hard on yourself, girl? You know, really? Because then what's going to happen is, if you can't find that solution, somebody in your environment, like a good friend or somebody that you trust, will come back to you and say, now, do you really need that? Do you really need that? Or why are you searching for that validation? Like, you know, I would have somebody grab me by the arm and stand in front of the mirror and say, look, who's that? You know, who's looking at you on the mirror? And I'll go, that's me. So whose validation do you need? And it's our own validation that we're seeking. And because, you know, like when we're growing up in the family environment as children, teenagers, and all so on, sometimes we don't have the skills because we put ourselves in a situation where we're not given the skills, so we have to learn. And how do we learn? Trial and error, isn't it? You find the courage and you say something, and then you discover, oh no, that didn't quite work. However, there will be somebody in the background will come up to you later on and say, you know, what you said today really made sense. It made me helped me to think that, yes, I'm proud of myself. That's the validation that I need today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's such a wonderful, you know, it's such a powerful thing to say that, you know, that I'm proud of myself. And that's all that we really need. Yeah.
And that's not easy task too. That can be a challenge. I mean, it took me a long time to say I'm really proud of myself, of my achievement. But how did I do that? I created a business, and my business became my own validation and my own process of being proud of myself, right? Because I have to put yourself, you got to put yourself out there, right, as a business. So that's how I did it.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's a wonderful time to talk about that, because just before we do finish up, I do have a couple of more little questions, but let's take some time now, Katerina, because you're also talking about your business, to share with all our listeners, both who are listening live or on the replay. Is there anything that you would like to offer the audience? And, you know, how they can get in touch with you. Of course, we are putting all your links in the comments. And also, if you wish to just tell us about your new book as well, especially if you've got it there with you.
Yes, well, the new book is called Inspired Creators, and then we had the launch last now, and the book's coming out, I think, first week of December. So that's all about 17 authors, including myself. And we talked about creation, you know, creating something magic for yourself. What is that all about? You know, my chapter, A Beautiful Messy Creation, I'm talking to the reader about how it's okay to feel messy. It's okay to have paper all over the place because you don't know which order to put it in, or it's okay to feel emotionally messy because we're creating from nothing, right? So that's what the book is all about, and it's a beautiful, energetic, activating book. So it's on Kindle, Amazon.com. If you go and visit my website, beyourtrueself.katerina.com, you'll be able to get the links there. My business, Be Your True Self, is simply giving you the space to be okay about talking about anything you want, really.
Sure.
Bringing in your everyday life experience and integrating your higher self so you can discover and expand on your own wisdom and clarity. So I have healing modalities that can help as well. But it's just simply letting you know, as a human being, it's okay to sit with somebody because I will listen to you. And I will be able to connect with your higher self, pass on some messages, and teach you how to bring that into your everyday life so you can feel validated, so you can feel your purpose in anything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Bex, what about you? Tell us about your business and if you've got anything that you would like to offer all our listeners.
Absolutely. So I am known as your cheerleader for change. So if there is anything that is coming up for you, then I will be your cheerleader to help you move through that, to change that, to transform that, or to just accept that as well, because sometimes that is the first step to change, is just being able to accept what is going on for you, even if you can't put words to it. And that's where my body psychotherapy does help in relation to that body awareness and really feeling things through our body, because sometimes some of that self-esteem and those woundings came up before we were even had words. So developmental stages that were way back when we didn't actually have a vocabulary. So it's really important to just know that sometimes the things that come up, you may not have words, you may just have emotion, and that is okay too. And really, that's where you do need somebody else to help you move through that, because if you're looking for words to make sense of it as an adult, sometimes you don't have that. So that's me. I'm a partner in your journey. I have a downloadable free assessment, which is how you can actually discover how to find purpose in your own self, and I do that through the elements. So it's a really cool quiz to be able to get to know yourself from an elemental perspective. So are you more fire? Are you more air? Are you more water or earth? And being able to actually identify yourself that way, you can actually look to nature then to help you balance yourself or bring more of that particular element in. So that's what I really love about what I do, is everything's available external to us to have the reflection internally for us all. So the Finding You program is also a great way, which is a group session, and we have reflection in others as well as ourself. And we have, not sure what that is going to be, whether it's going to be a 6 or an 8 week course next year, but that will be in the new year. So look out for that on my website. And I also do one-on-one sessions and have a beautiful community on Facebook called Utopia, which is the utopia for your emotions, where we talk about the moon sign, what element it's in, and then what's coming up for the week ahead, so that you can actually create your sustain plan and your personal rituals based on the elements that are actually happening from a moon perspective, and also from just the energy of what's happening. And Katerina, you touched on, there's a lot of energy happening at the moment. So being able to hold yourself in, not only with people and with the human aspect, but with the elemental aspect and also the energy aspect of what's happening for us all on this beautiful planet, is really important as well. So yeah, I help everyone through that too.
Thank you for sharing that for you. And for Katerina, I said we will be putting all your links in the comments. And I mean, you can't believe it, but we're almost up to the top of the hour. So I'd just like to again honour you both for joining us, for you, Bex, and for Katerina, and to also to thank Angel for being there to support us as well. And before we say goodbye, I just have one last further question for out there. You know, we live in a crazy world. It's a challenging world, you know, to grow up into today. So if you could just offer one, you know, even if it's a one word, one final tip for any parents out there who have young children, or any teachers, or anyone who has any interaction with young children, to help them to gain a foundation of self-esteem in their life, to be able to be strong, so people don't say that you're not good enough, so you're not affected by all the bullies in the schoolyard and made fun of. Just that one tip, what would that be? And Bex, do you want to start with that one?
Looks like Katerina was ready to go, so I'm
Oh,
going to
well,
let her go
yep,
first.
Katerina's
She was
fine too.
What I want to say is always remind them that they are more than they know at that given moment, even when they don't feel so great, that they are worthy of knowing that they are more than they know. Because I feel when you get told that you are more than you know at that moment, I feel it gives you the courage to go and seek it out and not worry about what the naysayers may be doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. And Bex, what about you?
There's a few things that come to mind, but really embrace the uncertainty. So the uncertainty that you're feeling in yourself, if it's happening to you, and if it's happening for another, hold the space for that uncertainty. You won't be able to fix it necessarily. You won't be able to, do anything that will change it for them as their emotion. Because what we need to do is hold space for people that are going through things and embrace the uncertainty, because when nothing is certain, anything is possible. So in that space, enjoy the beauty of becoming. So you're becoming your own sovereign self. You're finding out more about what inspires you and what drains you. So really, look to those things for another individual and reflect that back if you're witnessing it. But if you're going through it, really look at it from what is inspiring me in this, what is draining me in this, and then make a shift to actually do more of the inspiring piece.
Thank you. Such beautiful words of wisdom to finish up on, both you, Bex, and Katerina. So thank you ever so much for joining us. And for everyone out there who is watching us, do click on the links that Angel has been putting in. And coming up in just 2 days' time, we will see Katerina again, who is joining us for our next panel discussion, is tips for living a half glass full. Tips for living a glass with a half full mentality. That's coming up in just 2 days' time. Should be another wonderful and very interesting panel discussion, and I look forward to seeing Katerina there too. For everyone who is watching, come and join us for that by clicking on the links in the comments, or why not just join our secret community, because we are here to help you connect to yourself, to connect to your higher purpose if you wish, or just to connect to other like-minded people, to improve, to empower your self-esteem. That's what we're really here for, to get to know who you are. And we offer over 20 special interest tribes to do that. And you can join us tonight just for $1, $1 Australian. Try us all out for 3 weeks. And then after that, it's just 15 Australian dollars a month. And there's so much more than just the tribes. We've got all panel discussions and lots of other things as well. So thank you everyone for watching us, and thank you again, Bex, Katerina and Angel. Thank you, Angel, for joining us, and Bex and Katerina for thank you all for joining us, and Angel for helping us, and Bex and Katerina for joining us. You know what we all mean. Have a beautiful night if you're here in Australia, or a beautiful day if you're on the other side of the world, wherever you are, and we will see you next time.